My name is Diana, and I am 34 years old. I am a smart home automation and security engineer. I design the digital fortresses for billionaires, celebrities, and high-security estates. I write the code that controls the locks, the cameras, the hidden vaults, and the emergency lockouts. In my line of work, a system is only as good as its hidden vulnerability. I am paid to think like a thief so that no thief can ever break in. But I never expected the security threat to be broadcasting from inside my own marriage. 3 years ago, I completed my masterpiece, a fully automated, custom-built luxury estate tucked away in the hills of Aspen. I own the property, the patents to the software running it, and the security grid protecting it. It was my private sanctuary. A year later, I married Julian, a high-profile financial consultant, and allowed my childhood best friend, Sarah, to manage the estate's guest bookings and high-end events. I thought we were a team. I thought the late nights they spent working on property tax strategies in the home office were just them helping me manage the estate's massive growth. Until a snowy Tuesday evening when my flight home from a tech conference in London landed 4 hours early. I pulled up to the estate in a local taxi, the snow muffling the sound of the tires. The house was glowing against the dark mountain backdrop. I didn't want to disturb anyone, so I didn't use the main driveway. I walked up the heated stone path to the side entrance and scanned my thumbprint. The lock clicked open silently. As I stepped into the mudroom, the house's master control panel on the wall caught my eye. The system was running an override sequence. Someone was downloading the core source code, my multi-million-dollar proprietary automation software, directly to an external hard drive. I slipped off my coat and crept toward the glass-walled master study. The smart tint glass was set to transparent, giving me a perfect view inside. Julian was sitting at my terminal, a high-capacity drive blinking green next to his hand. Sarah was leaning over the desk, holding a printed stack of my private bank statements. "The download is at 80%, Julian said, his voice flat and cold. "Once it finishes, the server will wipe her remote access tokens. When she tries to log in from London tomorrow, she'll be completely locked out of her own network." Sarah laughed, running a hand through her hair. "And the legal transfer. Are you sure the shell company is ready?" "The paperwork is already submitted to the offshore registry," Julian replied, turning to look at her. "I used the digital signature we cloned from her tablet last month. By tomorrow morning, this house, the land, and the software patents belong to Vance Holdings LLC. We'll file the emergency psychiatric hold, claim she had a mental breakdown and fled the country, and liquidate the entire estate for 8 figures. "I almost feel bad for her," Sarah murmured. Though she was smiling. "She built this entire place to be unbreachable." "It was unbreachable," Julian sneered, "until she let me into her bed. The counterattack, my heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. The man I loved and the woman I had known since kindergarten were systematically deleting my existence, stealing my life's work, and planning to commit me to a mental institution to cover their tracks. The wife in me wanted to smash the glass wall. The engineer in me smiled. Julian was a financial genius, but he was a digital novice. He thought because he had my master password, he controlled the house. He didn't realize that an engineer never builds a fortress without a backdoor. I pulled out my phone, opened my encrypted, offline developer terminal, and activated the local audio bridge. I recorded their entire conversation, capturing their voices, their timeline, and their explicit confession of identity theft and corporate espionage. Once the file was safely backed up to 3 separate external cloud servers, I stepped out of the shadows and walked directly into the study. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Julian and Sarah leaped up from their chairs as if they had been electrocuted. Julian instinctively slammed his hand over the blinking hard drive, his face turning an ash-gray color. "Diana," Sarah gasped, her voice cracking. You're early. The weather in London." "The weather was fine," I said, walking over to the minibar in the corner of the study. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, my hand perfectly steady. "But the atmosphere in my house is absolutely rotten." Julian tried to recover his composure, adjusting his cuffs and stepping forward with his trademark, smooth smile. Babe, listen, it's not what it looks like. We were just running a security diagnostic on the server. A diagnostic that requires cloning my digital signature and transferring my patents to an offshore shell company? I asked, taking a slow sip. The room went dead silent. The mask of the loving husband vanished from Julian's face, replaced by a cold, calculating malice. It doesn't matter that you know, Julian said, his voice dropping an octave. The download is at 95%. In 2 minutes, the master encryption keys change. You won't even be able to open the front door of this house without my permission. You're done, Diana, you've lost. Protocol blackout. I looked at the monitor. The progress bar hit 98%. Sarah was staring at me with a triumphant, malicious smirk. You always thought you were the smartest person in the room, Diana, Sarah whispered. But you were too blind to see what was right in front of you. I am the smartest person in this room, I said softly. I lifted my phone and typed a single 4-digit command into my developer console, protocol blackout. Instantly, every light in the multi-million-dollar estate died. The monitors went pitch black. The automated heating cut off. The backup generators screamed to life for a split second before my code shut them down too. The entire house was plunged into freezing, absolute darkness. Sarah shrieked in the dark. Julian, what happened? What did she do? It's just a local power trip, Julian yelled, fumbling in the dark. It's not a power trip, Julian, my voice echoed calmly in the darkness. You see, you downloaded the decoy source code. The moment that download hit 99%, it triggered a hardwired analog isolation script. Your drive didn't copy my software. It uploaded a worm that just bricked your laptop, wiped your phones, and encrypted every financial account linked to your name. The heavy, motorized steel security shutters over the glass windows began to roll down automatically, sealing the study like a bank vault. The heavy magnetic locks on the doors engaged with a loud, definitive thud. Let us out, Julian roared, slamming his fists against the reinforced glass. I reached into my pocket, pulled out a small, analog emergency flashlight, and clicked it on. The beam illuminated their terrified, trapped faces. This house is a fortress, I said, walking toward the emergency exit panel that only responded to my physical, hardwired key. And I just locked the wolves inside the cage. The demolition of a marriage eye stepped out of the study and locked the manual deadbolt from the outside. I walked down to the main foyer, unlocked the front door using the mechanical override, and opened it to reveal 3 police cruisers and 2 federal agents already waiting in the snow. I had alerted the FBI's cybercrime division the moment I landed at the airport, having noticed unusual server traffic on my flight home. The audio recording I had made just 10 minutes ago was the final piece of the puzzle. Agent Ross stepped into the foyer, looking around at the darkened house. Is the perimeter secure, Diana? They are locked in the master study, Agent Ross, I said, handing him the flash drive containing the recorded confession. They have the forged documents, the cloned signature data, and the encrypted hard drive right there with them. The extraction was quick. Because the smart locks were completely locked down by my local command, the police had to use manual tools to open the study door. Watching Julian and Sarah being led out of my home in handcuffs, shivering from the rapidly dropping temperature of the unheated house, was the most satisfying restoration project I had ever witnessed. Julian looked at me, his face twisted in a mixture of rage and desperation. Diana, you can't do this. I'm your husband. Everything I have is tied up in those accounts you've frozen. Correction, Julian, I said as he was pushed toward the police cruiser. You were my husband. And as of right now, your net worth is exactly 0. Sarah didn't even look at me. She kept her head down, crying into her expensive fur coat as the snow fell around her. The master key 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. Because Julian had attempted grand larceny, identity theft, and corporate espionage, the prenuptial agreement was enforced to its absolute maximum limit. I retained the estate, the software patents, and a significant portion of Julian's frozen assets as restitution for the damages to my servers. Julian was sentenced to 6 years in a federal penitentiary. Sarah received 4 years for her role in the conspiracy and the forgery of the legal titles. One evening, I sat by the roaring fireplace in my living room. The lights were warm, the security grid was running flawlessly, and the house felt entirely mine again. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was a notification from my security system, showing a clean log with no unauthorized access attempts. True security isn't about building a wall so high that no one can ever climb it. It's about knowing exactly who holds the key and having the courage to change the locks the moment that key is turned against you.